All right, here we go. I'm Paul Carruthers, and I'm with MotoAmerica. I'm the communications manager, and this is our weekly podcast, Off Track. And that down there at the end, the big cuddly fella is Sean Bice, who's usually in Ohio. And we're all here today. We've got our Twins Cup champion, Chris Parrish. We've got our Twins Cup runner-up. We'll try not to make them fight, or we'll try and make them fight. Jason Madama, and we're actually at Road Atlanta for the opening round of the 2019 MotoAmerica Series. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for sticking around a little bit late. I'm sure you've had some late nights, so it's probably normal at this point.
Yeah, this is no worries now.
Let's start with you, since you're the champion. Sorry.
Hey, man.
You won the most races, though, didn't you?
First loser.
Did you win the most races?
I think maybe.
Yeah, you got
he
about
thinks
one.
maybe.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So
He's being humble.
How was it a grind getting
For
here?
once, he's being
Right.
First time for everything.
Was it a grind getting here? Like normal? I mean, the first race is always difficult, especially for privateer guys. And
Yeah. For me, yeah. Since I did a lot of changes with the bodywork, I started over. But I wanted my own bodywork, so I just kind of took to the grind and made all the stuff, and then I went up to Minnesota and worked with Andy Palmer to mold my bodywork, where I was able to get back home and make my own stuff, just so I wouldn't have to build or wouldn't have to go and buy them if I crashed or whatever. If I ever need it, I could just make it so much cheaper. So a lot of late nights with that. And even when I got the motorcycle back from Mike, the engine builder, I had to do all the fitment with all the bodywork and stuff, and I made new fairing stays and made all new brackets, and all this is, within just like a couple of weeks. And then I got a phone call from John Ulrich to do their bodywork. Their paint guy kind of fell through, and 27 boxes fell on my front porch.
Wow.
Magically.
Wow.
By the race van. And
It's good for business, though, right?
So in the next, I started 2 Wednesdays ago, and in 9 days I did 14 tanks and over 30 pieces of bodywork for them.
Wow.
So then on top of that, I had my stuff to do, and then I had like 4 other customers to do. So in the end, I did like 17 tanks and almost 70 pieces of bodywork. So
Chris, talk about that. That's your day job.
Mm-hmm.
You have Ghetto Customs, is the name of your company, and you're a body shop.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily motorcycle stuff. Do you do car stuff too?
Well, car stuff takes a little bit longer than motorcycle stuff because I can flip the bodywork, so much easier and faster. But I actually have a 63 Impala at home right now. I'm restoring. It's a low rider. I've already, welded up the frame, the hydraulics and stuff, but the body is just sitting there and the guy's just waiting on me. I'm like, dude, I just got other stuff to do right now. But he's cool with it. So yeah, I do cars as well.
Mm-hmm. The bike stuff. Don't you also take, like, restore tanks, take the dents out? Do you do paintless dent repair, or at least take the dents out and refinish them?
It's not paintless.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially, if a tank comes in, I've had some with just a single dent in it, or they've been folded in half. I cut the bottoms of them out or drill holes in them, and I beat the dents out of them best I can. Do a little filler and just repaint it. Of course, I weld the holes up. But there's not many people that do that, or even take the time to do that. But I've been doing it for so long, I can repair a tank in like less than a day, and it's profitable.
So when you're racing, do you think about like, oh man, I can't crash this thing because I got to pound out this tank?
Well, that's the sad part, because my stuff is usually last. Like I just explained, I did all the paintwork and stuff for a lot of people. And mine was just a quick rush there at the end. So yeah, that's kind of one thing that goes through my mind when I'm racing. I don't want to fix my own stuff.
That's why I'm coming with 2 of everything.
There you go. How big of a crunch was it for you to get here?
It was hard. It was a struggle. So I never had. I bought a motorcycle at the middle of last season, like around Utah, and I gave a bunch of my parts away to some people to work on, and then it never ended up happening. And so I didn't get my engine back to even get built until like the end of November. And so I basically started in November to build my own bike, and kind of the same situation with Chris. I didn't want to run all the standard FZ07 bodywork that's out there. So I ended up retrofitting R6 bodywork to it. It took a little bit of time to sort getting it mounted easily without a lot of modification and modifying the subframe and the fairing stays to make everything fit. And now I have like a bolt-on kit that's really easy and looks badass, by the way.
Well, what's your day job?
Say so myself.
I actually kind of do the same thing as Chris. I do graphics and design for motorcycle liveries, and I design posters for racers and race logos for racers, and then corporate identification for companies, logo design and stuff like that. So I have a graphic design degree and an illustration degree, and then my wife actually owns a wedding store. We actually own 3, so.
Wow, that's
I
good.
do wedding dresses. That's the altar. So you see the
design.
That's how
wedding
the
dresses?
pink kind of fell in. I have the pink motorcycle, but it sort of fell into place because my wife started a wedding store, and I was like, I'll use the wedding store colors as my color. And then once you run a pink bike and start winning, if you go back to something else, you just get made fun of. So now I have to be pink. Everyone's like, oh, you can't go back from being pink. You have to still be pink. And so that's kind of how the pink color scheme ended up being how it is.
So, Chris, let me ask you, last year when we showed up here, it was the first inaugural race for Twins Cup. You won the race. There were nine bikes, I think, on the grid. There are 39 this year entered. What happened? How did we go from 9 bikes to 39? Do you guys feel like you're, I don't want to say age-related, just call you the grandfathers of the class, but you guys, I mean, you're obviously like Pied Pipers a little bit. What do you think happened? Did people see what you were doing and said, hey, I can do that? What's the secret to it?
Well, you have to go back to how many entries did we have at Pittsburgh last year?
That's when it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
quite a bit more, yeah.
So in the beginning, all of us lightweight guys are, we're in a tight group. We all of us communicate, even no matter any kind of form or whatever, we all communicate. But what I think is that in the beginning, guys were afraid to shell out the cash and build a motorcycle and, pay out a bunch of money to, enter a MotoAmerica race. People thought that they couldn't handle the money. They couldn't handle, preparing the bike. They were just scared. So, and then watching us go through the season, and when it came back to the East Coast, that's why you saw so many entrants at Pittsburgh, because people had time to build their bike, get the program together, and they all showed up at Pittsburgh. So the last 3 rounds were good. So now we're starting over. People have had more time, and that's why you're seeing more.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are interested in it. They know that they can afford it. And these lightweight bikes, even though they're naked and you have to do a lot of work to it, we've already explained how much you have to do. Guys are taking the time to build, parts and, put these motorcycles in because it's still affordable. Like the 600 back in the day, a teenager could go buy a 600 for $6,000-$7,000 off the showroom floor and go have fun. It's affordable. It's the same way it is right now with the lightweight bikes.
Jason, tell us about, with regard to your bike, and really Chris, same way. You guys did a lot of work over the winter to the point where, getting here, you kind of got here in the nick of time. What are you trying to do with your bike? Are you trying to make it handle better, engine performance, crash worthiness, look better? I mean, what is your whole thing?
So for me, I rode the Altis bike and I rode Andy's bike last year, and so I had honestly 3 different motorcycles or 4 different motorcycles that I rode throughout the year. I want consistency. I would like to have the same motorcycle underneath me every time. Our goal this year is to have a very light bike. We wanted to have spares of everything. I wanted to not only function well, but look good and be modular. I mean, if something happens and we crash, I don't want to have to these bikes, like he said, they're street fighters, so they don't really have fairings. They come with single subframe frames and single, or the subframe and the fairing stays are non-existent. So we're creating our own stuff for this. And if you throw it down the track and bend something or break something, you need to be able to fix it. So that was kind of our goal, was to have a subframe that's removable, have a fairing stay that's removable, have bodywork that's easily accessible, a reliable engine. I mean, I don't have the fastest motor on the grid this year, but I know that it's very reliable, and I know that, it's making enough power to be competitive. And, weight, we have a weight limit in this class. And so there's kind of been a joke in our little talks about who has the lightest bike. And honestly, I'm not as light as I thought I was. I finally weighed the bike, and I was more disappointed than I was happy, but it's still pretty light. And I went and rode it at Chuck Wall, and we won a couple races just screwing around in the club scene. I think it was like December, January, or whatever, and the bike felt awesome. It felt really small. It felt light. I felt comfortable on it. And then being able to have a bike that I'm not worried about crashing and having to pay for, that's my own, helps a lot in like my brain, I guess. Being able to go out and not have to, fork out 30 or 25 grand for a motorcycle that I don't own and just basically cough the money up and watch it disintegrate. Or if I have to rebuild my bike, it's my own bike. It's my own money. It's going into my own show. And so it was cool having the factory kind of ride deal, but I feel more comfortable in my head having a bike that's my own, that I don't mind throwing down the track, and I know that I have spares for it. I know how every nut and bolt, and I mean, we literally built the thing from the ground up. So I know every ins and outs of that motorcycle, and I know what we have to deal. If something's wrong, I know it's wrong. If something's, going right, I know it's not going to get changed next round. Like, all that helps a lot. And so that's kind of my goal, is to have a consistency, I guess, would be the key.
So I looked at your bike today, and you've got some pretty amazing looking carbon fiber ductwork going under there. That's not just necessarily lightening the bike. I looked at Chris's bike today, and it's got that big catfish mouth on the front.
Yeah.
Both of you guys seem like you're trying to get more air to the engine.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, to make power, you have to have air, and, it's a formula of air, fuel, and,
Well, that's what an engine is. It's an air pump.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the exhaust that we're running is, almost far larger than the air that's going in. So we have to bore out the throttle bodies, and we got to make the air box as big as that we have the ability to make. And then also, you're running straight down the track, you get air into it. These bikes off the showroom floor just have a headlight mounted to the front. So we're making all this stuff to make these engines run as top performance as we can get them to run.
Yeah, that's what's cool about this class. It's a builder class. So like, everybody's coming with these cool little ideas, and he's got a cold air intake. I got a really cool dual feed cold air intake. We're cutting subframes. We're making our own bodywork. We're mounting our own bodywork. Lighter wheels.
Everything for these motorcycles is not sold on a shelf.
Yeah, I think Andy Palmer posted a picture on Facebook the other day of like the heart of the Twin Cup, and it was like an engine and a frame. The rest of it is completely custom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking shock links and different triple clamps and different fairing stays and different subframes and different bodywork, and every engine has pistons and rods and cams, and they're fully built.
Suspension guys are making custom internals for forks and shocks for us. Yeah, like different links and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, these aren't point and shoot bikes. They're really small and light, and so being able to carry corner speed and have a compliant chassis is a really integral part of racing them. I mean, having too stiff of a setup, you get bad chatter. Having too loose, the thing won't turn. So there's a fine line between corner speed and like point and shoot that we're trying to find, and it's cool. I mean, he was an R3 racer. I was an R3 racer in the club scene, and coming from that to these little bit more powerful shitty bikes is cool. It's really cool.
So they're heavy turds that we're trying to go fast.
They are turds. Mine is nicknamed the turd.
So last year you won here. We already talked about with 9 bikes, and then this year there's 39. Do you feel like, oh no, that it decreases my chance of winning again? Is it better to get third with 39 bikes, or is it better to beat 8 other guys?
So. I've been here with, 25, 30 bikes before. When we're a GNF used to come here, and the lightweight class, back in the Suzuki Cup days, there was a lot of, SVs on the track at that time. So I'm really not that worried about it. The only thing I'm worried about, and give him a little bit of advice because he's only been here once, is the traffic during qualifying and warm-ups and stuff. The traffic can get heavy. This track is, even though it's long, it's a little tight. And some even up at the chicane and top of 2 and stuff. So that's the only thing I'm worried about, is getting a good qualifying time.
There'll probably be a pretty big disparity in speed, don't you think?
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a big difference in speed. Yeah, because you got, not to say that guys are rookies, but a lot of guys just haven't been to this track, so it's going to take them a little bit while to get up to speed. So just traffic's only going to be the problem.
It's definitely one thing I'm stoked about this year is more track knowledge. I literally showed up to every track this year not knowing anything about them, and I definitely feel more comfortable showing up and knowing where the pit entrance is and where pit exit is and like where the track goes. And I think it'll help a lot, especially with my confidence, having the same motorcycle and having track knowledge. And it's going to help me if
it's definitely going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be.
That's the number one thing. It's going to be fun.
I'm not nervous. I was talking a little crap on Facebook they're talking about 30 bikes, 40 bikes. I was like, well, I've raced, ultra lightweight class in Chuckwalla with 9 MotoAmerica Junior Cup riders, and there's 50 dudes in qualifying, and you have to dice through traffic to get a good qualifying, and then you're battling with 9 16-year-olds at the front of the grid. So it doesn't make me nervous to have 30 dudes. It doesn't make me nervous that, really
I
anything.
haven't had puberty yet.
Yeah.
So it is going to be different because there are going to be some kids. I mean, there's one notable one in the Junior Cup champion, Alec Dumas.
Mm-hmm.
Does that raise your game, or do we just have to wait and see?
It's going to be a wait and see. I've never ridden with the kid.
I have.
And, for him to jump up to, an SV, it's far different from a KTM or an R3, We'll just have to see how he does. We'll fill him out. If the kid gets in the way,
Push him around a little bit.
We'll get him out of the way if we need to.
Couple of veterans, wily old veterans, rubbing them out.
I think it's for not to take away anything from M4 or those guys over there. They're still going to be learning that whole setup and motorcycle and everything. Just like Alex is. So maybe they'll do good this round. Maybe they'll struggle. We'll see. But I predict that they will get faster as the season goes. Just because they're going to progress with the whole program.
Along with anybody that's running the whole season, will definitely learn the way these twins ride and the way we have to ride them to go fast. And there's a handful of dudes that have been on them, and there's a handful that haven't. And I think at the beginning of the season, we'll notice who has ridden them and who's consistent, and then who will learn and pick up that pace.
So what was the difference between him winning the championship and you not winning the championship? You won one more race or 2 more races or whatever, but he was a little more consistent, obviously.
I think it was DNFs, wasn't it? I mean,
I had a bad DNF in Utah.
Yeah,
real
that's what did it.
shitty bike in Barber. I mean, I kind of crapped the bed in Barber. I should have probably tried harder. I had a chance, but the Utah race really screwed me big time. If I would have just finished Utah anywhere, I would have won the championship. So
don't feel bad, man. I ran out of gas.
Yeah, that was
we both
I ran out of
issues.
gas.
At least if he
and
finishes,
opened it wide back open.
At least if he finishes second again, your wife probably has bridesmaids dresses as well.
That's true. Yeah.
It is pretty incredible how it came down to the end of the season with going to that last round and everything. And you mentioned, Jason, you had DNFs and you had the running out of gas thing, but by the same token, you had a race where you crashed and you were shifting the thing with your left hand.
Mm-hmm.
You came in and podiumed with no face shield and your leather's blown apart. So, there is a little bit of, you guys kind of do what you have to do to get to the finish line. What is that kind of a little bit what this class is like?
Me and Chris had our heads in the game this last season, the previous season, because it was us and we were the only ones that were really doing the whole season, and we were battling back and forth, and we knew it was me and him, and so we knew if one of them went down, the other one had to go, and if one was up, the other one had to get up, and so we went pretty hard in the paint. We made sure that we were finishing and doing our thing. So we had some pretty gritty races last year that were fun, and
I'm just old school.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever you have to do to finish the race, and that came from years of running endurance race. Number one is to finish the race, obviously, and whatever you need to do to finish the race. If you have a crash, you learn how to crash to keep the motorcycle from falling apart. If that makes sense, hang on to it, and unfortunately that race it high-sided me, so it just literally come out of my hands.
Yeah, we did that shit in tangent too.
Yeah. So.
That's right. It was like ballet.
Yeah, it was like if there was footage of both of us at the exact same time. We weren't even near each other. We were like 30 feet away. It was like high side, both at the same time. Like, oh man, these guys are definitely.
So what were you? Were you like, I can do that better than he could do that?
So no, I was in front, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I picked up the bike and looked back, and I saw Chris, and I was like, oh shit, he's getting up. I was like, damn it, I have to go too. And like the wind was knocked out of me and all my gear was blown out. It was bad.
I have to say, I at least got up a little bit slower, but I actually wheeled the motorcycle into the middle of the track and purposely slipped and fell because I was trying to draw a red flag.
The old Aaron Yates technique.
One of those YouTube video guys.
It was snowing.
It backfired because as soon as I hit the ground, I felt guys just picking me and the motorcycle up, and it was just like, whoop, I'm back up again. So I noticed the handlebar was bent, so I beat the handlebar straight, and I got on it, started, and went to shift the gear and went, oh crap, that's missing. So I finally got it going, and then that first lap, I was just kind of taking inventory of what was going on and figured out that I could finish the race.
I actually went out. My bike was okay. The handlebar was bent, but nothing was like mechanically not
It was
functional.
mainly your.
Yeah, it's just my.
That was crazy.
So I was going down the back straight, and I was putting my hand in front of my helmet just to keep the rain out of my visor. And then I figured they would black flag me. So every time I went down the front straight, I looked the other way. I was like, I don't want them to know that I don't have a visor. So
and the funny thing is, you coming into the press conference with your leathers blown apart. We didn't even think, that's just, he blew it up. We thought that's just the way he is. He's probably wants to come in half naked and do the press
showing off the chest hair.
Yeah, we figured it was a look for you. So, but I had forgotten you were ahead of Chris. So Chris, did you see him go down? I mean, did you guys just crash?
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Because I was already in the same motion.
Yeah, it all happened like simultaneously.
Yeah.
So when I got up and looked back, I saw that he was down and like I guess my stomach dropped back out of my mouth into my stomach. So I was like, oh, it's not over. Like, I can still do this. Like, the season isn't over. Like, Chris is down too. Let's go.
Chris, you sort of play your cards a little closer to the chest a little bit, I think. I feel that way. You're a little more soft-spoken.
Yeah?
Hammer is out of control.
What?
It wouldn't be hard.
When you guys
I lost my filter when I was like 12.
when you guys put the face shields down, or in your case, for a little while until it comes off, are you racers? Are you giggling all the time out on the track? And what are you guys like? Are you badasses when you're riding, or are you having fun? What's going on?
It's hit or miss. I laugh sometimes.
Shield goes down, bad to the bone song comes on.
Is that right? I expect that from you.
See,
but
I'm
I don't know.
not me. So I'm more
I
I kind of chill. Like, I'm sure you've seen some of like pre-race like grids. I'm laughing and joking around, and I try and keep my mojo like chill, but then once the light goes out, my adrenaline pumps and my heart rate goes up, and I get into race mode. And I'm sure you saw like the red flag at Utah where I was winning, and then we had a red flag, and I went back, and I kind of lost my drive, like my ambition to be up front, and I kind of followed him around for the whole race. Not only was my bike crappy, but I was just trying to like keep my momentum. Like I kind of lose it. I've always had a bad time with red flags. Every time there's a red flag, I don't go nearly as fast as I did previously. So
should you be telling him all this crap?
No, he's already told me.
He's already seen it in person.
You're like, oh, let's have a red flag.
Oh, red flag. Oh, I'm going to crash on purpose.
We do a lot of folding chair racing with a bunch of beers.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about our class, too, is a lot of us, like he said earlier, we all talk. We all are kind of in the same chat group and the same forums and Facebook, and we're buddies. It's not. There's not a lot. There's rivalries. Obviously, I want to beat Chris. He wants to beat me. I want to beat anyone that's out there. But we still, at the end of the day, we hang out and talk and high five. And
that class does have more fun, I think, than the other guys. They're sneaking their beers in their hotel room at 23 years old because they're super bike stars. And you guys,
the finish line.
Yeah, you guys are just out in the open with it. So.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're 40.
Maybe the twins class will get a little more serious as it goes. But right now, it's serious enough that it needs to be, if that makes sense. Yeah. We're serious enough by preparing the machines, and we halfway prepare ourselves. Not like that we should prepare ourselves, but it's more into the machine, because we want the machine to be reliable, because these lightweight bikes are prone to fly apart at any time because the engines are not stable. But the guys that's building the engines have figured out how to keep them reliable and stable.
I haven't seen him yet, but didn't Chris Turner lose a bunch of weight?
Yeah, he looks a lot different.
Does
yeah.
he?
Yeah, I
he's
lost
lost quite a
15
bit.
pounds since
Yes.
Christmas.
Really?
And I quit smoking cigarettes.
Wow. I remember last time you.
Smoking cigarettes.
I thought I was gonna have to carry you over the bridge.
I know,
I'm like, come on, I'm way older. than
I
you.
threw up and hopped it, I think, one morning.
I think you said I quit smoking this morning or
Yeah.
something.
No, I haven't smoked cigarettes since beginning of October. So October.
Wow,
November,
so
December,
the
January. Yeah,
class
since-
has
Well,
taken on some
I remember
seriousness.
last year you lost a bunch of weight going into last year, right?
I did.
just mowing his lawn.
And it works.
Yeah, it does.
That's, if you push mow, 2 acres of, of grass, spread it out over 3 days, it actually
I'm
works
definitely
pretty good.
better
But I
at
drink
physical
a
shape
12
this
pack
year.
while I did it would be the problem.
It doesn't mean that I quit drinking. I'll still party at the end of the weekend, but probably no heavy Saturday night, Friday night drinking binges, no cigarettes. Like, I think.
Well, we can't do the Saturday night binge anymore because all
Now
of our
we
races
race on
are on
Sunday.
Sundays.
Yeah,
Right.
now we race on Sunday. Damn.
And 2 rounds are going to have 2 races, right?
Yeah.
You guys like that? I mean, is that
I
something?
like it.
Yeah.
I always said if there was a second race at a lot of these rounds, I would have won.
Are you still saying it?
I'm ready, man. I'm super excited.
Well, especially with the quitting smoking, that's going to help.
Yeah, I think
It
so. Too.
it gives us more race time. We felt a little shorthanded, at the beginning of the season, but as it went on, it was just, we just,
Everything got better. Our coverage got better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The races got better. The count of people that showed up got better. I think this year, obviously we're starting off with 40 guys on the grid, and we have a cool new TV package. And I think people are going to be like, damn, I can do that. I can go beat Hammer, like, no problem. And then they're going to show up and be like, damn, I can't beat Hammer. Like,
There you go.
So I think it's cool, man. I'm excited for the
Throwing down
class.
the
And that's how you got 39 bikes on the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And you guys, for your class and your Racing Live Plus, the streaming package is where it's at. Have you talked to people about that? I know you did a video with us, and people have asked, how can I watch your racing? Is this going to help people that know you to be able to see?
Oh, absolutely. I've
Yeah.
sent 10
Yeah.
people to get the thing. They're
Yeah.
like, how do I watch your race? I'm like, just get this app. It's $50.
Yeah.
You can watch everything whenever you want. And so
And you guys have put out really good information on it, so there really wasn't that many questions. Just a couple people were like, where do I go to get it?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
except for my mom, she's older lady, and so she's like, "There's no app. I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "It hasn't come out yet. Just be patient, mother."
We've had a few fans ask that question, like, where's the app? I think they thought once they signed up, it was immediately
there,
ready to
yeah.
go. But yeah. I have a question for you, Chris. And so Travis is your crew chief and is again this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he raced a couple of rounds last year, and he happened to race the round where you ran out of gas. And I've never really gotten the answer. Was that his fault? Was it your fault?
No.
Well, tell us what happened. How the heck did you run out of gas?
Oh,
Didn't put enough in.
yeah.
Well, who didn't is what I want to know.
No, Travis and Keith wanted to race at Pittsburgh. They had motorcycles that were, could pass tech and get on the track. I was like, sure. So I just asked the guy to come and help me, and he was helping out a lot, and I had to rush off and do something, and I told him what to do with the fuel, which at the time I was just carrying around 1 gallon gas can. Because I like to, after every session, I like to, siphon it out and see how much I use each session, just so I know an average by race time, if that makes sense. So just through all that communication, I told the guy to put 2 gallons in, because I always need 2 gallons. I always use like 1.5 gallons or 1.75 gallons, for a race. But somehow he didn't get to put 2 gallons in and only put 1 gallon in.
Okay.
So if I even would have just asked, like during the red flag, I would have been able to put gas in it. But I just didn't think about it because I'm used to, having 2 gallons of gas in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I would have enough. And then I need to make it around the first lap of the restart.
Yeah, I remember warm-up lap, he was sputtering, and I'm like, oh, man. I was like,
This is great.
I was like, this is good, but I felt bad for Chris. I was like, oh, man, this is no bueno.
And you obviously knew what it was. It was running out of gas.
Yeah.
Ah.
I know exactly what it was
Yeah.
the first time. Because coming down out of that bowl or whatever, I guess that's 4 or 5 at Pittsburgh, coming up the hill, it had that one big, like, that big jolt. And I went, crap. So,
Paul knows this story about Eddie Lawson. I think it was at Laguna Seca. One of his brake guys forgot to put the pins in or something, and he went into the first turn, and the pads came out, and he got hurt, broke his heel and all that. But he, from then on, always wanted that guy to be his brake guy because he knew that guy would never make that mistake again.
Exactly.
I bet you'll never have an issue with fuel.
That guy's probably overfilling his car every time he gets spewing on the gas. He's like, I'm not going to make it home.
It's never happening again.
No, that's funny. So I got rid of the 1 gallon can. I have a 2 gallon can now.
Yeah. You should have one.
You just
Just
fill this thing up
you
every
still
time.
just put 1 in now. Just fill it all the way up to the top. It's 2 gallons. You're good.
That's good.
It's just a miscommunication, and
Hey, it made it exciting, man.
I helped you out.
Yeah, you did.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I still won that race. I think that was the one I won, right?
Well, I mean, you made it come down to that last race, and it was,
Yeah.
it was incredible the way it ended up. And did you have any reservations going into that? Did you think that yourself, I just do what I need to do, and I'll win this?
I did. Cause all year long, it's a new motorcycle. I would struggle with that thing turning, and I knew Barber was a really tight track, and I knew I was going to struggle, and I did everything I could to get that bike to turn, and I never could get it set up. So the fastest I went in qualifying was my fastest of the weekend, and I was looking at his times, and he didn't really do much better. So I knew it came down to just traffic and knowing the track.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you've had a lot of laps there.
oh yeah, I've
And
been there since.
Had you ever been there before?
Just at the test, and it was the first
Oh,
time I
that's
ever
right.
rode the bike.
The
and it was
preseason
cold,
test.
Yeah.
and-
Right.
Well, it's all a bunch of excuses. I should have done better. But I rode like a weenie.
Well, what was your mindset? Were you thinking, I've got this?
So I had an issue. I mean, like I said, excuses, but I kept dragging my exhaust on the right turns. There's a lot of like downhill compression corners there.
Yes.
I never really noticed it until Barber, and it was a fresh bike. I'd never rode it until that weekend, and didn't have nearly enough time to get it set up right. And it still had radiator fluid in it when I got here. I mean, it was not nearly as competitive as the bikes that I rode the rest of the year. So I kind of came into a gunfight with a knife. So it is what it is.
Well, this speaks to your comment that this year you've got one bike. It's a bike you're going to use. Last year you didn't know what you were going to have.
Yeah.
You always had an FZ07 Yamaha, but it wasn't the same one every
bike,
time.
different shock, different forks, different wheels, different everything. Everything was always different. So I don't know. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm really pumped to have my own machinery this year. Eric Dorn's building my motors. I got MotoRev doing my suspension. I built my own chassis. I've set up my own geometry, did my own livery, my own bodywork, my own graphics, my own team, my own travel. Everything's on my own this year. I mean, I have sponsors that are financially helping me and some companies that are giving me parts and stuff. But as far as like showing up to each round with like the confidence in my brain that the motorcycle is the same way it was last week, and like I said, I went to Chuckwall and it felt just small. It felt really small and light compared to what I'm used to. So that's awesome. I mean, lighter, smaller, better. So we'll see.
I want to give a shout out to your crew chief, Justin. Justin's your crew chief, right?
Ryan Smith.
Oh, I'm so Ryan. I
Well,
keep
and
saying
Justin. Well, there's
won
two.
too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ryan's the one I talked to. So
Ryan owns Carbon Smith.
Yeah,
and helps
Ryan Sean
3D print.
Smith.
Yep.
So
yep.
talk about the fact that you have stuff on there that's 3D printed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of stuff.
Tell us about
Tons
that.
of
It's
stuff.
carbon fiber too.
So we relocated all my wiring, and then we designed I run R6 2018 R6 bodywork, so we bought the factory intake for the R6 and then molded off a 3D printer a part that fits off the stock ram air duct that goes in between the forks and the steering and the frame and runs over the top of the engine with like custom carbon fiber ram ducts and custom printed intakes and a custom printed air box. And we 3D printed my brake reservoir bracket, and we 3D printed my chain guide, we 3D printed my chain hook, we 3D printed my potentiometer brackets. Anything that we could make out of carbon fiber 3D print, we have. And so when you go look at the bike, if anybody's in the pits and want to come check it out, there's a lot of really, really cool parts that are factory looking. I mean, when you look at our bike, like you came over today and looked at, you can't tell that we made all these parts because they're all, precision machine 3D printed, so everything's really, really cool. I mean, our bike is pretty damn wicked this year.
Yeah, Paul, one of the things is the fuel cap on it is carbon fiber 3D printed, and it's dished on the top so he can stick his chin on
Down
it, on
in
the
it,
straightaways, and it fits right in there.
We were looking at pictures, and you can always see my chin's on the gas lid. And so we're like, well, what could we do to make you get your head down further, make more draft or less draft? And so we printed a dipped carbon fiber gas lid that doesn't even unscrew.
I was going to say, how do you get it off?
Yeah, you have to unscrew it from the bolts on the tank to get it off. But
you're going to run out of gas this year.
I can get my chin down another inch. So I mean, we'll see. I don't think it's like make or break win a race deal, but it's cool, and it also weighs like 300 grams less than the stock gas lid. So in a class where we're trying to get down to 300-ish pounds, every half pound, quarter pound, everything makes a difference. So we did a lot of that. We did titanium exhausts and 3D printed carbon brackets, and everything's aluminum that we can make aluminum, and we're trying to get it down to the 300-ish mark, but we're pretty far off. I think that's a big stretch for all of us, really.
How much does it weigh?
I don't know exactly. We tried like the 2 scales in my garage deal, and I think we were like around 325 or 320 or something.
What about you, Chris? How heavy is your bike?
I haven't weighed it, but I'm sure it's still in the 360 range.
No kidding. So you guys could, wow. That's quite a bit.
Mine hasn't had the subframe cut off of it. It's still the steel trellis frame. It's all still one piece. I just hadn't had time to work on it. And the SV cannot get that light with the bigger steel tank, and it just has more frame. It's steel. Mm-hmm. The swing arm is steel. It just has more.
So we have like 6 pounds in data on it. Just potentiometers, front and rear potentiometers, the AIM data system, brake pressure sensor, a bunch of wiring. So yeah, we measured all that, and it was 5.5 pounds of data.
Do you use all that on your bike? So you use data. You look at it afterwards.
Yeah, last year we didn't have it. This year I was always like, what gear am I in? Where am I at here? What? And it's going to help. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I've never had data on any bike I've ever owned. So we're kind of learning, I guess. So we're going to see what we can use to help us, like gearing, speeds, lean angles, and some of that stuff is trackable. Throttle position, brake pressure.
It's a waste of money, kind of.
Well, I was gonna say, you got to have somebody that can read it. Is it Ryan?
Yeah. So we've been like on the way out here, we were watching YouTube videos and learning. So I mean, we don't know much about it. So it's kind of
certified YouTube.
You just set it up so you can actually watch YouTube on it.
Yeah, I know, that'd be cool. Like if I could watch like kiddie videos down the straightaway, that'd be sweet. I'm down.
I mean, I could hook you up with my friend Vito Bolognese from Magneti Morelli. He might be able to help you, but if he has any time on his hands,
a couple of our buddies, like Ben Fox has helped us with some dumb stuff, and even Andy Palmer's helped us with some dumb stuff. And we went to Chuck and we gathered data and used it to help with our gearing selection, because you're like, you're faster here when you're in this gear, and you're slower here when you're in this gear. So we were able to kind of determine what gearing and. Honestly, on these little crappy bikes, it's a big deal. Like, it's like, God, if you're in 5th gear and you're at 9,000 RPMs, it feels like you're going fast. But if you're in 6th and you're at 3,000 RPMs, you're actually carrying more quarter speed. And so it helps there a little bit. But honestly, I don't see it like being like a make or break championship winning deal, but it's cool to have. And I don't mind sacrificing 5 pounds to be able to go back and be like, this is what happened. This is where you shit the bed, or this is where you're riding like a girl, or whatever.
So you guys this weekend are kind of youngsters compared to the one guy that's coming in on the Ducati, Michael Barnes, who I believe is 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you? I mean, he's formidable, and that's a good bike. You got a taste of it at New Jersey last year when Renzo Ferreira rode it, I think. So what do you think about that bike? You think it's got something to show you, or you good with it?
I know Barnesy's fast. I know who's building it's fast, and we never really got a chance to ride with it, not in weather. So it'll be interesting to see how it does power-wise. I know Barnesy's a badass, so I'm not. He's definitely one on my list. I have like a pit board with a bunch of names on it, and I had to pick 10 that I thought might be ones that would show up on the board, and he ended up being one of them. So that makes sense. Say anything.
Wow.
It's just another sit and wait and watch situation.
Yeah.
Just have to see.
It's hard to tell right now.
You've probably raced with Barney before, haven't you?
I've never raced with Barney
Wow,
before.
surprising. Wow. Of course, he did a lot. You've done a lot of WERA, and he was AMA a lot.
Yeah, I've always been on the lightweight bikes, and he's been on
Right.
600s and 1000s and stuff. So yeah, never had a chance to ride with him, but I will this weekend.
That's good. Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be cool. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I mean, it's a good name to have in the group, to
Sure. Yeah.
solidify our class. I mean, with Alex Demas being there and Barnesy showing up, and there's a couple bigger names that are showing up, and I'm sure everyone's thinking, oh, those guys are going to kick everyone's butt. But yeah,
Bring it on, though, right?
Yeah, I'm not scared. Me and Parrish are going to show them around tracks.
That's great. Good attitude.
All right, we'll wrap this thing up. I know these guys are old and they probably need a lot of sleep. We don't want to give them too much time. That's not beer, is it?
It is actually.
Is it? All right. That's cool. You're the first beer drinker on our show. Well, that's actually drank on the show. Although I think I have at home. Maybe.
It's a 20-hour drive, man. I deserve a couple man
Yeah, you
sodas
do.
before. Man.
So anyway, thanks guys for coming. Good luck.
Yeah, man. Thank
Congrats on last year and you too. And I expect some good battles from you guys. And thanks to our fans for continuing to listen to the podcast. And you'll be able to see this thing on Facebook Live on Sunday. Saturday on Facebook Live.
Cool. Right on.
So you can watch that. And yeah, it's been great. Continue to watch and however you listen to the podcast, keep it up. And make sure you all buy your subscriptions to the MotoAmerica Live Plus so that you can watch these guys in action as well as all the other classes. So again, thanks for tuning in, and thanks you guys for joining us tonight.
Should have brought the helmet in.
Yeah.
Have you seen my helmet?
Yeah.
No.
Is it on both sides? It says this space available.
Oh, I did see it. Yeah, I saw it on the video you sent us.
So if you're watching the Twins class, look for me and look for the helmet.
I have 100 sponsors, so there's no space available. I'm
Wow.
squeezing things.
hopefully at the next round you've got a
Yep.
sponsorship
filled.
on there.
Yeah.
We're working on that. I'm gonna help them design a cool little sticker or something. We can replace it every round.
Just working, just needing tire money.
Well, the way Kyle Wyman does it is kind of smart, where he sometimes, he seems like he has different sponsor per race based on where the racetrack
Well,
is.
that's what I wanted to do, build my own bodywork. If I have a sponsor for that weekend, build the bodywork for them and then give it to them after the weekend's over.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think Sean's got some extra cash.
Yeah.
I just want to see Sean on the side of your helmet.
Just my name, not my giant
Give
face.
me
We don't want
50
that on
bucks,
there.
I'll put a sticker of him on the side of my bike. Done deal.
We can photo him like the Steve-O pose.
Yeah.
Put it on the side of the helmet.
Whoever
All right.
wins gets it tattooed on his back too.
That's it. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Right on,
thanks, guys.
Yep.